All right, so today we're diving into something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Hindu Vedic numerology.
Right.
We've got a bunch of material here that someone sent in.
Hmm.
We're gonna take a look at kind of the ancient origins of this whole thing.
Yeah.
How it links like numbers to your destiny and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's kind of like getting the Cliff's Notes to your cosmic blueprint, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Exactly. And you know what's really interesting is um, the sources really highlight how Vedic numerology is really a distinct system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got Western numerology, you've got Chinese numerology,
Right, right.
but this one is um, it's its own thing,
Yeah.
and it really comes from ancient Indian wisdom,
Okay.
particularly the Vedas,
Uh-huh.
and it's very closely connected to Jyotish.
Right, Vedic astrology.
Vedic astrology, exactly.
So basically we're saying like the numbers 1 through 9 aren't just quantities, they're vibrating with this cosmic energy.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it's all linked to the planets.
yeah, and it's not just about counting. It's like these numbers symbolize these specific cosmic powers.
Right.
And what's really fascinating is this whole idea that, ancient Vedic sages,
Right.
rishis, were the ones that discerned all these connections.
So we're talking like way back
Oh yeah, way back. And
in the mists of time.
in the midst of time, exactly. And there's all these texts, they reference things like the Brihat Parashara Horashastra,
Oh yeah.
which is like a really foundational text
Okay.
in Vedic astrology. And it actually contains like some really early links between planetary energies and numbers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's really interesting. And this knowledge has been passed down like generation after generation through this oral tradition,
What's that?
from guru to shisha,
Right.
which really kind of adds to its authority in a way.
Right. Like that lineage is really important.
Absolutely. But, thinking about it,
Yeah.
Jyotish itself
Uh-huh.
actually shows some Hellenistic influences.
That's interesting.
Right. So it kind of makes you wonder, is Vedic numerology
Yeah.
purely indigenous, or is it like a blend,
A pseudosis.
a synthesis, yeah,
Yeah.
with like later astrological ideas that came in from other places?
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's even the Chaldean system,
Right.
which is a very specific way of
Yeah.
assigning numerical values to letters,
Yeah.
which is often used in Vedic name numerology.
Uh-huh.
So, it kind of all points to this idea of like potential syncretism.
So it's not necessarily a direct line from the betas.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably more complicated than that.
Complicated history.
Yeah.
So what about the philosophy behind Vedic numerology?
Well, it aligns really strongly with Sankhya,
Okay.
which is a school of Indian philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about like meticulously categorizing the elements of reality.
Okay, so like a real system
A real system, exactly.
with like strong logic behind it.
Yeah, and the numbers 1 through 9, which are linked to the Navagrahas.
Can actually be seen as like representing the fundamental building blocks of our experience.
Interesting. So like
Yeah.
each of the 9 planets and the numbers 1 through 9,
Uh-huh.
they each represent kind of like a building block
Exactly.
that make up reality.
Right. And 0 is interesting.
Yeah, what about 0? Where does 0 fit in?
0 or shunya.
Right.
It's this huge philosophical meaning, but it's not actually a primary vibration in this like 1 through 9 system.
Right, so it's not one of the planets.
Exactly. Yeah, the focus is really on those core numbers.
Gotcha. So we're not including 0.
Not in that primary way, no.
Okay, cool. And then each number is tied to a planet, including Rahu and Ketu,
Yes, absolutely.
are shadow planets.
That's right. And that's actually a key difference
Yeah.
from Western numerology systems.
Right, they don't usually include those.
Right, exactly. And this inclusion really highlights Vedic numerology's emphasis on karmic influences.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of all that, you got the name number.
Which adds this whole other layer through numerical assignments to letters.
So like the letters in your name.
Exactly.
Like each letter has a number.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we actually calculate like our key numbers in this system?
Okay, so your psychic number, that's your birthday, reduced to a single digit.
Okay.
So for example, if you were born on the 16th,
Mm-hmm.
your psychic number would be 7,
Okay.
because 1 plus 6 is 7.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of like your inner compass.
Right.
Your destiny number, that's the sum of all the digits in your full birth date,
Okay.
also reduced to a single digit, and that's like the overall map
Right.
of your journey.
Okay.
And then you have your name number,
Uh-huh.
which is calculated by assigning numerical values to the letters in your full name.
Mm-hmm.
And that represents how you present yourself to the world.
All right, so we've got the psychic number,
Yeah.
destiny number, name number.
Yep. And the harmony between those three is really important.
So, like, ideally, they all work together.
Yeah, exactly. Alignment is generally seen as like a beneficial thing.
Right. So if they're kind of like clashing, that could be an issue.
It could be. Yeah, it could indicate challenges.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could we get like a really quick sense of what each number like represents?
Sure.
Like we know number 1 is the sun.
Right. So 1 sun is all about leadership.
Okay.
2 moon is emotions.
Yeah.
3 Jupiter is wisdom and expansion.
Okay.
4 Rahu, that's unconventionality, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, right.
5 Mercury is communication and adaptability.
Hmm.
6 Venus, harmony, beauty relationships.
Okay.
7 Ketu, introspection, spirituality. 8 Saturn, hard work, discipline, karma.
Oh, yeah. Saturn's the tough one.
Saturn's the taskmaster, right?
Yeah.
Often seen in people who are like very disciplined and think about the long-term consequences of their actions.
Right.
And then 9 Mars, energy and drive.
Okay. So we've got all these different planets, all these different numbers.
Yeah, it's a rich system.
Yeah, it is.
It's fascinating.
And you were saying earlier it's deeply connected to Jyotish, but numerology is kind of easier to grasp.
Yeah, I would say so.
Like for the average person.
Absolutely, numerology gives you these core themes.
Okay.
Whereas Jyotish offers like a super detailed planetary map,
Right.
but it requires like really precise birth information, time, place, all that.
Whereas numerology, you just need your birthday and your name.
Exactly. So much more accessible.
Okay, cool. So how is this used, like, practically? How do people use Vedic numerology?
Well, there's a bunch of ways people use it for name selection.
Oh, yeah.
So choosing a name for a baby.
To, like, align with their birth numbers?
Yeah, to try to like, harmonize things.
Right.
Relationship compatibility.
Oh,
To see how people's numbers interact.
Gotcha.
Career guidance, aligning your career path with your numerical strengths.
Interesting.
There's even muhurta, which is like choosing auspicious timing
Right.
for events.
Based on the numbers.
Based on the numbers, exactly.
Wow. Okay. And it can also provide health insights.
Yeah, because each number is linked to a planet.
Mm-hmm.
And each planet is associated with certain parts of the body
Right.
and certain potential health predispositions.
Oh, okay. So it can give you clues about that.
Right.
And then kind of the big one, like understanding your life path and your purpose.
Absolutely. It's all about self-discovery, revealing your inherent nature,
Right.
your strengths, your weaknesses, your challenges,
Yeah.
the karmic lessons you're here to learn.
Okay. So that brings us to destiny,
Yeah.
right? Does your destiny number like imply a fixed path? Like is everything set in stone?
Well, it's not really about like a fixed path. It's more about suggesting certain predetermined aspects
Okay.
and karmic patterns.
Right. So like a tendency.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a tendency or a predisposition.
Okay.
But then your name number and the choices you make in life represent your free will
Okay.
in navigating that path. So it's not like you're locked into anything,
Gotcha.
but you're working with certain energies.
Right. So like the destiny number is like the landscape.
Yeah, good way to put it.
And then your free will is how you navigate that landscape.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not just a puppet of fate.
Right.
You have agency.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
basically, Vedic numerology is saying that numbers are like a reflection of cosmic order.
Yes.
And your birth details like anchor you within that order.
Exactly. And it's primarily a tool for self-awareness
Right.
and spiritual understanding.
So it's not really about predicting the future.
No, not in like a fortune-telling sense.
Right.
It's more about understanding yourself
Gotcha.
and your place in the cosmos.
Okay. Now, of course, mainstream science views numerology differently.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they often consider it as pseudoscience
Right.
because it lacks empirical validation.
So like there's no scientific proof.
Not in the traditional sense, no.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
its lasting appeal
Mm-hmm.
probably lies in that very human desire,
Right.
meaning and guidance.
Right. We want to understand our lives.
Exactly. And Vedic numerology offers this really interesting lens
Yeah.
through which to understand your life's journey.
Yeah. Right. And maybe even more than like, is it true or not?
Yeah.
Like you were saying, it's that framework.
The framework, exactly.
It provides.
Yeah, it gives you a way to think about things,
Right.
a vocabulary to discuss life patterns.
Right.
And it connects your individual experience
Mm-hmm.
to these broader narratives.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So like regardless of whether somebody believes it's true or not,
Yeah,
it can still be useful.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something for our listeners to think about. Like,
Yeah.
how could this framework, regardless of its scientific basis,
Mhm.
how could it shape how you perceive
Right.
and engage with your own experiences?
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that is our deep dive into
Vedic numerology.
Vedic numerology.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.